Hello everyone, I am back with another part of circulatory system and today we will be learning about the heart sounds. So I'm sure all of you are aware that your heart produces sounds. There are two heart sounds produced in human body, lub and dub. First heart sound is called lub, spelling is L-U-B-B. First heart sound in human body is lub. Second heart sound is dub. We will study how lub and dub is produced in humans, and to understand how these heart sounds are produced in our body, we need to understand different phases of heart. So there are four chambers in the heart. The above chambers are called auricles or atrium. Below chambers are called ventricles. So what are the phases of heart? In heart, contraction and relaxation happens. And the contraction and relaxation in the heart have a separate term. Contraction is also called systole. Relaxation is also called diastole. Both these terms are very important for you. So systole, contraction, relaxation is also called diastole. Now let's look at the phases of heart. So what happens? Now you know that there are four chambers. Above chambers are auricles, below chambers are ventricles. Both the chambers of the heart, the above as well as below, chambers are always in opposite phases. If above chambers are contracting, below chambers will relax. If below chambers are contracting, above chambers will relax. So they are always in opposite phases. Auricles and ventricles are always in opposite phases. So what happens in heart? The heart cycle, cardiac cycle starts with the contraction of auricle. So when auricles, the above chambers will contract, auricles contract, ventricles will relax. So all the blood from auricles will squeeze down into ventricles. So what is happening in the first phase? Auricles are contracting. Auricles are in systolic phase. Contraction ka another term was systole. Auricles contract, ventricles relax. All the blood from auricles come down into ventricles. At this point where auricles are in systolic phase and ventricles are in diastolic phase, auricles are squeezing out their blood into ventricles. Ventricles are relaxing, ready to receive the blood from auricles. At this point, which two valves are open and which two valves are closed? Guys, now you take a guess. Blood is coming from auricles to ventricles. Which two valves will be open so that blood can come down from auricles to ventricles? Bicuspid and tricuspid valve are open so that blood can flow from auricles to ventricles. Which two valves are closed at this point of time so that blood can stay in ventricles? Semilunar valve. Semilunar valves are closed so that blood can stay in ventricles for some time. And which two valves are open so that blood from auricles can come down into ventricles? Tricuspid and bicuspid. So this is the first phase of the heart. Now let's see what's happening in this first phase. We are saying this is left auricle, left ventricle, right auricle, right ventricle. Between left auricle and left ventricle, there is bicuspid valve. Which valve? Bicuspid. Between right auricle and right ventricle, there is tricuspid valve. Which valve? Tricuspid. And these are the semilunar valves. In the first phase of heart, auricles are contracting and ventricles are relaxing. This phase of the heart is called atrium or auricular systole and ventricular diastole. Ventricular diastole. Because auricles are in systolic phase and ventricles are in relaxation phase. What is happening? Auricles are contracting, ventricles are relaxing. All the blood from auricles is coming down into ventricles. So blood needs to come down from auricle to ventricle. At this point, which two valves should be open? So I told you valves are like gate-like structures. When they will open, blood will start coming down from auricles to ventricles. For blood to stay in ventricles, which two valves should be closed? Semilunar valves. So first phase of the heart we have studied atrium systole and ventricular diastole. In this phase, which two valves are open? Tricuspid and bicuspid are open. And which two valves are closed? Semilunar valves are closed. Semilunar valves are closed. We are looking at the first phase of the heart, auricular systole. Auricles are in systolic phase, contraction phase, and ventricular diastole. Ventricles are in relaxation phase. Auricles are squeezing down blood into ventricles. At this point, tricuspid and bicuspid are open. Semilunar valves are closed. So now let's look at all the points. What is happening in first phase? Auricular systole and ventricular diastole. Blood is flowing in which direction in this phase? From auricles to ventricles. First point is, in this phase of the heart, blood flows from auricles to ventricles. Now let's talk about valves. Which two valves are open so that blood can flow from auricles to ventricles? At this point, tricuspid and bicuspid valves are open so that blood can flow from auricles to ventricles. And which two valves are closed so that blood can stay in ventricles for some time? Semilunar valves are closed. So these were the pointers. Bicuspid and tricuspid open. Semilunar valves are closed. Now closure of semilunar valve produces a heart sound. Which heart sound? Second heart sound. You remember what was the second heart sound? Dub. D-U-P. The closure of semilunar phase. So when ventricles relax at the beginning of ventricular diastole, when ventricles relax at the beginning of ventricular diastole, semilunar valves closes. The sudden closure of semilunar valves produces a heart sound. Which heart sound? Second heart sound. What is the second heart sound? Dub. D-U-P. Is this clear? So now you got the clarification how the second heart sound is produced. Now in the next phase, ventricles will contract and auricles will relax. When ventricles contract, all the blood from ventricles will go into aorta and pulmonary artery. At this point, when ventricles are contracting and auricles are relaxing, which two valves are open? Which two valves will open at this point so that blood can go into aorta and pulmonary artery? Semilunar valves will open so that blood from ventricles can go into aorta and pulmonary artery. Which two valves will close to prevent backflow of the blood into auricles? Tricuspid and bicuspid will close to prevent backflow of the blood. Semilunar valve will open so that blood from ventricles can go into aorta and pulmonary artery. This second phase of the heart is called ventricular systole and auricular diastole. Ventricles are in systolic phase. Even by looking at the diagram, you can make out ventricles are contracting. Ventricles are contracting, auricles are relaxing. So ventricles are contracting. They will squeeze their blood into, aorta and pulmonary artery. So blood needs to come from ventricles to aorta and pulmonary artery. Which two valve will open? Semilunar valve will open. Which two valve will close to prevent backflow of the blood from ventricles to auricles? Bicuspid and tricuspid valve will close to prevent backflow of the blood. So during this phase, closure of tricuspid and bicuspid suddenly produces the first heart sound. What is the first heart sound? Lub. L-U-B-B. Lub is the first heart sound, which is produced by sudden closure of tricuspid and bicuspid during ventricular systole. So when ventricles contract, tricuspid and bicuspid wall suddenly closes to prevent the backflow of the blood into auricles. This sudden closure of tricuspid and bicuspid wall produces the first heart sound, that is lub. So during ventricular systole, closure of tricuspid and bicuspid produces lub. Previous phase में, at the beginning of ventricular diastole, closure of semilunar wall produces the second heart sound, that is dub. So how lub and dub are produced? Dub is produced by closure of semilunar valves. Lub, the first heart sound, is produced by closure of tricuspid and bicuspid wall. Is this clear? So this was the second phase of the heart. Just by looking at the diagram, you can make out that ventricles are in systolic phase, auricles are in diastolic phase. And in this phase of the heart, what is the direction of the flow of blood? Blood goes from ventricles to aorta and pulmonary artery. Which two valve will open? Semilunar. Which two valve will close? Tricuspid and bicuspid. So these two important diagrams are given in your textbook and they are very important for your board exam. They can give you the diagram, ask you to identify the phase of the heart. I am putting in a lot of efforts to create these videos for you. So if you are enjoying this, please hit the like and subscribe button so that I can reach to a greater audience. Thank you. Just by looking at the diagram, you should be able to identify the phase of the heart and explain that blood is flowing in which direction, which two valves are open, which two are closed, and which heart sound will be produced. So those diagrams are very important for your board exam. Coming to the phases of the heart, so you have seen the first phase. When auricles contract, auricular systole. Second phase in the cardiac cycle, ventricular systole. When ventricles contract. Now there is a last phase in cardiac cycle. So heart cycle is also called cardiac cycle. And cardiac cycle mein there are three phases. We have seen the first phase, auricular systole. Second phase, ventricular systole. Now there is a third phase in cardiac cycle as well. Third phase is called joint diastole. From the name joint diastole, what do you understand? Diastole means relaxation. Joint matlab all the four chambers together. So there is a phase in the cardiac cycle where all the four chambers are in relaxed state for a very short span of time. That state is called joint diastole. So this is the sequence for cardiac cycle. It starts with auricular systole, followed by ventricular systole, then in the end there is joint diastole. The duration for the cardiac cycle in humans is 0.85 seconds. Heart cycle is also called cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle का duration क्या है? 0.85 seconds. Cardiac cycle के correct sequence क्या है? Atrial systole, ventricular systole, and then joint diastole. They can ask you to arrange them in logical sequence. They can ask you the duration of cardiac cycle. Another question, they can ask you name the following. Name the state of the heart in which all the four chambers are in relaxed state. What is the state? Joint diastole. So now you have understood कि heart produces sound. What are the two heart sounds? Lub and dub. First heart sound is called lub. Second heart sound is called dub. Cardiac cycle में phases होते हैं. Auricles and ventricles are always in opposite phases. अगर auricles contract कर रहा है तो ventricles will always be in relaxation phase. Auricles contract करा, ventricles relax करा. Contraction and relaxation have another term. Contraction को systole भी कहते हैं, relaxation को diastole भी कहते हैं. So auricles contract, ventricles relax. Auricle से सारा blood कहाँ पे आया? Ventricles में. Which two valves are open? Tricuspid and bicuspid. Which two valves are closed? Semilunar. So at the beginning of ventricular diastole, semilunar valve closes, and the closure of semilunar valve produces the second heart sound, which is called dub. अब क्या होगा? Second phase of the heart. Ventricles will start contracting. Auricles will relax. Ventricles से blood will go into aorta and pulmonary artery. Which two valve will open? Semilunar. Which two valve will close to prevent the backflow of the blood? Tricuspid and bicuspid. So at the beginning of ventricular systole, closure of tricuspid and bicuspid suddenly produces a heart sound. First heart sound called lub, L-U-B-B. So cardiac cycle में phases होते हैं. पहला atrium systole or auricular systole. Second is ventricular systole. Third one is joint diastole. For a very short span of time, all the four chambers are in relaxed state. Cardiac cycle ka what is the duration? 0.85 seconds. Coming to the next topic, chordae tendineae. This is very important topic for your board exam. They can ask you to write down the location and function of chordae tendineae. So now let's look at the diagram. What is chordae tendineae? So from the walls of the ventricles, these are the above chambers, auricles. These are the below chambers called ventricles. From the walls of ventricles, these are the walls of ventricles. From the walls of ventricles, projection arises. Can you see these projections? So from the walls of ventricles, projection arises. These projections are called papillary muscles. What are these projections called? Papillary muscles. From papillary muscles, cords arise. These thread-like structures, these cords, these thread-like structures arises from papillary muscles. And what are papillary muscles? Projections of the walls of ventricles. So from walls of ventricles, projection arises. These projections are papillary muscles. Now from papillary muscles, thread-like structure or cord arises. These cord or thread-like structures are called chordae tendineae. Now what is the function of these cord, these thread-like structures? These thread-like structures keep the valve fixed in its position. These valve, tricuspid and bicuspid valve, are fixed at one place, right? Their position is fixed. What do you think makes their position fixed at one place? Chordae tendineae. Chordae tendineae keeps bicuspid and tricuspid valve fixed at one place. Prevent its overturning. Prevent the overturning of valves into atria. Because of the blood flow, the valve can overturn into atria. This overturning of valves into atria is prevented by cord-like structure. What are those cord-like structures? Called chordae tendineae. And what is the location for chordae tendineae? They arise from projections of walls of ventricles. And what are those projections called? Papillary muscles. So from papillary muscles, cord-like structure arise called chordae tendineae. They keep valve fixed at their position, preventing their overturning into atria. If the question comes that write down the location of chordae tendineae, write everything. That they arise from the projections of the wall of ventricles called papillary muscles, and they keep the valve fixed at one place, preventing their overturning into atria. Now coming to the next topic, which is pacemaker of the heart. So your heart works continuously without taking break. You think your heart can afford to take a break? कि अभी मैं बहुत ज़्यादा देर से काम कर रहा हूँ. Now I need a break for a minute. You think your heart can afford to take a break? No. Your heart works continuously without taking a break. Heartbeat continuously produce होती है. What is heartbeat? Continuous contraction and relaxation of the heart. This continuous contraction and relaxation of the heart produces heartbeat. So your heart works continuously without taking a break, without getting tired, because of a pacemaker present in the heart. What is the name of the natural pacemaker which is present in the heart? Sinoatrial node, SA node. So SAN, S-A-N, sinoatrial node is the natural pacemaker for the heart. How do you think your heart is able to beat continuously without taking a break? Why your heart continuously contracts and relaxes? It's because of a pacemaker. It's activity of a pacemaker. What is the name for that pacemaker? Sinoatrial node. So sinoatrial node generates electrical impulses in the heart. And because of these electrical impulses, your heart continuously contracts and relaxes, producing the heartbeat. So sinoatrial node generates electrical impulses, and because of these electrical impulses, your heart continuously contracts and relaxes, producing heartbeat. So what is the natural pacemaker for the heart? SAN. What is the full form for SAN? Sinoatrial node. Coming to the location of sinoatrial node. Where is SAN, the pacemaker, present in your heart? Now look at this diagram. 4 chambers, left auricle, left ventricle, right auricle, right ventricle. This is sinoatrial node. This green dot represents sinoatrial node. Just by looking at the diagram, can you tell me what is the location for this green dot? On the walls of right auricle. This is right auricle, this is the wall. So where is sinoatrial node present? On the walls of right auricle, near the opening of superior vena cava. This is the vena cava. So near the opening of superior vena cava. Complete location of sinoatrial node is, it is present on the walls of right auricle, near the opening of superior vena cava. So this sinoatrial node will generate electrical impulses so that your heart can beat continuously, can contract and relax continuously, producing a heartbeat. Now my next question. Sinoatrial node electrical impulses produce कर रहा है, but how these electrical impulses are transferred to the entire heart? So sinoatrial node is producing electrical impulses, but how these electrical impulses are being transferred to all the parts of the heart? Let's see the passage of electrical impulses starting from sinoatrial node. तो sinoatrial node पे electrical impulses start होंगी. Now electrical impulses from sinoatrial node will move to another node. This green dot, it is called AVN, atrioventricular node. What is this AVN? Atrioventricular node. And where is this atrioventricular node present? तो SAN ने electrical impulses generate किया और ये electrical impulses from SAN are transferred to AVN. This green dot right here represents AVN. AVN का full form क्या है? Atrioventricular node. Just by looking at the diagram, can you give me the location of atrioventricular node? कहाँ present है atrioventricular node? You remember this is septum, which divides the heart into left and right half. This line is septum. This is interauricular septum. Interauricular septum divides the auricles. Interauricular septum. This line is interventricular septum, divides the ventricles. So what is the location for AVN? It is present near interauricular septum, close to tricuspid valve. So what is the location for AVN? Near interauricular septum. What is this line? Interauricular septum. So where is AV node present? Near interauricular septum, close to tricuspid valve. So SAN से electrical impulses are transferred to AVN, atrioventricular node, और atrioventricular node का location is near interauricular septum, close to tricuspid valve. अब AVN से the fibers come out. These fibers run along interventricular septum. ये interventricular septum है. So the fibers coming out from AVN run along interventricular septum. Now these fibers are called bundle of His. What are these fibers called? Bundle of His. So SAN में electrical impulses are being generated. SAN से electrical impulses are transferred to AVN. AVN से electrical impulses are transferred to bundle of His. AVN से fibers निकलते हैं and these fibers run along interventricular septum. What is the name of these fibers? Bundle of His. Now these fibers run along the walls of ventricles. And along the walls of ventricles, these fibers have a separate name. They have a different name. Now, these are called Purkinje fibers. Along the walls of ventricles, these fibers are called Purkinje fibers. So, what was the passage of electrical impulses? Pacemaker of the heart क्या है? Natural pacemaker. Sinoatrial node. Full form is sinoatrial node. Repeat after me. What is the full form for SAN? Sinoatrial node. What is the location? Think of the green dot at the start. Where was the green dot? On the walls of right auricle, near the opening of superior vena cava. ये electrical impulses generate करेगा. SAN will generate electrical impulses, and these electrical impulses from SAN will travel to another node called AVN, atrioventricular node. Location क्या है? Near interauricular septum, close to tricuspid valve. AVN से कुछ fibers निकल के आएंगे, and these fibers will run along interventricular septum. Now these fibers are called bundle of His. Now the fibers will run along the walls of ventricles. In the walls of ventricles, these fibers have a different name. They are called Purkinje fibers. So they can ask you to arrange them in logical sequence, the passage of electrical impulses. So what was the correct sequence? SAN से electrical impulses went to AVN. AVN के बाद bundle of His. Bundle of His से last में electrical impulses Purkinje fibers. So they can ask you arrange them in logical sequence. They can ask you location based question or name the following question. Name the natural pacemaker of the heart. Never write short form. Always expand short forms. SAN का full form क्या है? Sinoatrial node. Location क्या है? On the walls of right auricle near the opening of superior vena cava. AVN का full form पूछ सकते हैं. क्या है AVN का full form? Atrioventricular node. AVN का location पूछ सकते हैं. They can ask you to write down the location of Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers का location क्या है? Walls of ventricles. Another kind of question which is very frequently asked in your board exam. Arrange them in logical sequence. So the passage of electrical impulses, SAN, AVN, bundle of His, and the last is Purkinje fiber. So that's it for today's class. For rest of the chapter, please move to next part. Till then, bye. Hey, hello everyone. So I am putting a lot of efforts in creating these videos for you. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. It will help me in reaching more audience. Thank you.